Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Look. I am your host Michelle and today's guest is Vanessa.
Hi guys.
Hello, how are you going today?
I'm very well. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I very much so appreciate it.
I'm loving having you here. So it's been already great behind the scenes talking and little helpful tips. So along the way, what kind of vibe are we going for?
Okay. I usually don't wear makeup in day to day. So I feel like I would love to go something real glam, real pretty.
Spice it up.
Just like free reign. I don't really mind color wise. I go for, my looks are either like a really bold red lip or I go for like a smoky eye. So whichever one.
Cool.
I'm not phased. I just want to feel real glam.
Yeah,
this, you know?
let's make you
Have
glam.
the hair and the face all together.
Oh, did you get your hair done?
Yeah,
Or do you,
yep. I've got a blow away. This is all fake news. I've got real curly, spirally hair. So
Bless.
yeah.
Alrighty, Vanessa. So, what is your current job role at the moment?
My jobs. Well, I am a motivational speaker, and I'm building my personal brand online through all of my socials, and really I take seriously my job of being a good human as well. I think sometimes we forget it's not just about the money that we're trying to earn on the earth, but like what are our roles in life by being a human.
Yes,
You
love
know?
that
A
one.
human experience.
Yeah, I'm just going to put.
Yep.
So, what got you into the online space?
Well, actually, YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like initially and very close to like what we're doing right now. I was born without hands and feet, and I live with chronic pain. And in 2007, 2006, I've like always been into YouTube. Like it was just this thing that like, I remember there was only one makeup artist online at the time, right? Like it was not like a thing at all. And I was always into makeup, and this cut to a few years later, this makeup artist, Candy Johnson, did a video with someone that had a disability like mine. And this was also around the time that I was experiencing excessive amounts of chronic pain, more than usual. And I didn't know it at the time, but I actually was living with a broken leg. That's how much pain I can like sort of withstand. And so I was spending a lot of time basically in what we all know now as lockdowns because of COVID and all of that. But back then, that's what it felt like. I couldn't leave the house, and I was really like mentally struggling. And so watching this video really inspired me to think, well, I could be doing something. And like, and always people are like, when I would do my makeup, because my background is a musician and a singer, so people are like, wow, who did your makeup? And I'm like, I did. And so I just sort of flowed from there. I took the idea and just was like, if I can, you can, and just to show liquid liner and just the process of how I do makeup. And so I started a YouTube channel and started doing makeup tutorials. And then from there, it all just evolved. I ended up doing daily vlogs for a little bit back then. And I've always just really loved the space online as a way to express who I am as a human and just document it. But also my message has changed over the years in terms of refining it. But I've always been clear about, hey, be yourself, you know? Yeah.
Love that.
I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
And are you still doing YouTube?
Yeah, so I did it on and off for a little while, and I didn't think I would like revisit it. But last year I was really struggling with my chronic pain again, and my chronic pain has gotten worse. And so I did this thing called Leaning Into Fear, and I relaunched myself on YouTube and was like, I'm going to share more of the disability side. Like, because in the past, I've vlogged and I've done makeup and all of that jazz, but I've really led with I'm just me. I've never actually like really lent into like, what does the nitty gritty of like a day in the life of a disabled woman look like? You know, what does it look like to live with a disability? And at the time when I was making the decision to like relaunch my YouTube channel and my podcast, I just thought, oh, I'm leaning into fear, unknowing that I was leaning more into my disability and living in that truth, and really sharing that, like, hey, I have more challenges than the average person, and yet I get up every single day with a smile, and I really like try and live every single day. So that's why I'm back on YouTube.
So recently you were on TV. Yeah.
Yes.
A little celeb moment. How was that? Like, you know, getting the story and everything like that.
So in my lifetime, I've had attention like that on and off. I grew up somewhat in a period of how do I say this? I grew up where money was raised to help fund the Royal Children's Hospital and to like obviously help the kids in there. So I was a pretty cute kid growing up, and so like that was recognized, and they were also very much so funding money for specifically my type of disability and that department. So it wasn't a foreign experience what happened to me. I think my new takeaway was how grounded I felt in my message, how I really felt like I was in my purpose, and I wasn't just getting attention because I'm this cute little disabled kid. Like
You got a voice.
Yeah, and I'm really going to use it. And people pay attention because, you know, they see my disability and they're like, wow, what's my excuse? And then people really hear my story and then they go, whoa, that's a capable person. And hopefully their takeaway is that they see something inside of themselves that resonates the same as like what I'm capable of. You know? They see a little bit of me in them, and that that's their spark, and that they roll with that. Because I really just want to be a ripple in someone's really big adventure.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, it's a real privilege to be doing the work I'm doing as well. Yeah.
And so living with a disability, how, like, what are the challenges that you've come across?
Well, I've never known any different. So it's definitely like, I always say, like, I'm not missing anything. I think people always say, oh, you're missing your hands and feet. And I'm like, no, I have no hands and feet, but I'm not missing anything. I am a complete person. I would say that, you know, growing up, it was difficult because as much as I was supported and I was raised by two amazing women that were like, you know, we're all different on the outside maybe, but on the inside we're all the same. Essentially though, I was alone in it. Like I went to mainstream school, I didn't go to a special school or anything, so I would sit in a classroom, you know, let's think back to when you were in a classroom, right? And, you know, you learnt to write surrounded by other people that had hands. I did not have that experience. I sat in a room where what was reflected around me wasn't something that helped me be better. I had to essentially do it by myself, and I think that's what's made me such a resilient person is I've had to be connected to an inner knowing that like I am capable, and not because the world reflects that, but because I tell myself that. And I think that there was something that really gave me the opportunity to survive everything I've been through, and sort of overcome what I think happens as a woman, you know, where we sort of use the world around us to feel validated, whereas I've always been connected to my inside self, my intuition, my inner world. And yes, I've strayed away from that, but I've always been able to come home to that. And I've always been able to like really have an inner home that I want to be in, you know? Yeah.
Beautiful. I'll get you to close. We're going to do the eyes before the rest of the face just in case of fallout, because we are going for a glamour look.
Cool.
So I am aware that you used to do makeup as like an artist yourself.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Well, I really just fell into it because of the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
So people would sort of start to see me, and then that was like a thing that people around me were like, oh, I'll pay you. And I was like, literally, because you were talking about this in Mel's episode, I really resonated with the whole money thing because people would just like offer me money. I didn't actually have a rate.
Yeah.
So I really had some worth issues around money for sure. I was like, no, I don't need to be, because I was like, well, I'm not a trained makeup artist. And, you know, I had the added layer of I've got no hands, and not that I was ever insecure about that, but I was just like, oh, but you know, you're just getting your makeup done by someone with no hands. Like, it's a casual thing. And so it was really like, it was so lovely that people were like, no, I'm paying you. I see you. This is a service. And so that was really beautiful experience for me to have, like, where it wasn't necessarily like that other people were setting my fee. It was that they were recognizing the work that I was doing. And it was the beginning stages really of understanding that like you can do something so creative and like thrive off that, and not just from an inner place, but like be able to like make a living off it and really support myself. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna roll with this.
So how did you do makeup on clients?
Well, I was very hands-on, pardon the pun. But like I feel very tactile with the world. So, and I think like I have tools at the ends of my arms, you know, like one of my favorite makeup artists is Ray Morris, and I went to one of her workshops, and she was always going on about the tools and like warming a product. Same with Kevin Aquan, you know, I was like always reading his book and just really obsessed with how he just worked with a product rather than trying to apply a product. And for me, like it was about, when I did makeup, I saw two things eventually. One being a creative expression and working with a client, but also I didn't make anyone prettier, but they would open their eyes and look at the final product and be like, oh my God, I'm so pretty. And I'm like, you were just as pretty before. You had no makeup on. And I understood that there was power there, and that I had like someone in my chair for an hour and I could be a boost to confidence. And I realized that like I was able to like hopefully share some of the ways I see myself and try and be a reflective mirror of like a positive mindset and how it's important to look at yourself a certain way, you know? So I really, that became something that to this day, like I believe in creating safe spaces in the world. That is one of my core values. And so in the chair was where that all birthed from, really. Recognizing that it's such a, like, look, my eyes are shut right now. It's such a vulnerable space. I'm sure yourself, you've heard some really like interesting things because people just open up. That's what I think is so great about this idea is like, you know, it's a space to be able to feel like opening up. You know?
It's like at the hair salon, like when you get your hair done and you're telling the hairdresser, I don't know what it is about being in a chair and getting a service done for a couple of hours. Like you got nothing else to do.
Exactly, you know? Yeah.
And so you just then spoke about helping people create like a positive mindset or, you know, build their confidence up.
Yeah.
Have you always had a quite like a confident upbringing? And
yeah, so my mums are like, they're just great at, you know, doing all of that stuff. And I was raised in a time where like, yeah, okay, my parents are lesbians, but back in the 90s wasn't cool. So, and I come from an Italian and Spanish background, so culturally that's also very different. So we had a very eclectic upbringing, and my household was very much about our opinion was valued and heard. We used to have like cone of silences at the table where we would like be able to say anything and it wouldn't leave that table, and we wouldn't get in trouble for it if after the conversation was over. So like say we did something bad or we were having like weird thoughts, you know, our parents really created safe spaces to have those conversations. And in a way, they were a little bit more in the loop than the average parent because of that. So there was that. But then confidence-wise, I have struggled with my own confidence. I've never like sort of been insecure about my no hands and feet. I have had body image issues though, in terms of like I've had fluctuating weight, and I have had a really rough upbringing. Like I had two sort of polarizing experiences as a child, where I was raised in one loving household and not so loving household. So that did have an effect on my confidence and rattled me in those ways. Yeah, so confidence was something that I think I had to come back home to as I got older and worked on myself.
And how do you think people should gain their confidence? Like what are like little strategies and tools?
I think it's an inside job.
Yeah.
I think it's really also about getting to know yourself. I really believe in documenting or journaling, whatever form that is. For me, it's always been video format and writing, so like poetry and just always having a journal. And to have it somewhat outside of yourself, written down, because I think that it orders thoughts in a way where you're like, oh, you can read something back and go, I actually don't believe that. And yet your mind can have you believing something that when written down on a piece of paper outside of you, you're like, what? You know, so it makes you really separate from like what your mind would have you to believe in a low moment versus fostering good, healthy, loving feelings about yourself, you know? And I think it's about that. It's about fostering love for yourself. And that all just takes time too. Yeah.
It's interesting that everything like in terms of our mental health and gaining confidence and all that, it all comes down to like our work, our inner work.
100%.
Why do you think that is?
Because we're all different. We're all unique. We all have our own story. I think that no one's lived our life. No one knows our truth except for us. Everyone has a different face, so everyone's going to have a different internal compass.
Yeah.
You know, and your north and my north is still north. It's just separate norths, you know. It's about, I think, having direction in life and going somewhere and having purpose, but they don't need to be the same. There's just a collective energy of love, I think. That's, I think, what brings us all together at the end of the day.
So yeah, going in with the Stiller, what are these? Nope, not sure. They're
Oh, it's
liquid
kitten,
shadows.
though.
Yeah,
Oh.
kitten.
Kitten. It's so iconic, but it's an iconic shade. Did you ever own the?
Oh, the little one?
pot one? Yeah.
No, but I
Oh
like
my
it was
gosh.
a rave.
It was my jam. It was on my brow bone in the inner corner. It was on my little. Oh, sorry.
You're okay.
I'm a wog. We move. It was on the bow of my lip. Like it was. I put that everywhere, and then they came out with like a couple of more shimmers.
Yeah.
Oh, with those little. What were those?
The pots?
Not the pot. The other thing. These like glossy things. That twisty thing. And it was like I forget what it was called. It was like a gloss that would go on and you would twist it. And one was called papaya. I still remember the name.
I don't even know. I didn't go that far.
I was definitely sinking the little money that I did have at the time into makeup.
Didn't we all?
It only went to makeup.
Literally
Yeah.
same. And then now I don't even wear it like unless I'm doing
Right?
something. Like, yeah.
Yes.
Every day
Yep.
I'm not wearing anything.
Yeah. The irony is not lost on me there. Yeah. Yeah.
So you say that you are an open book. What's given you that mentality? Because some people, you know, are obviously not as open.
Well, I'd say three real main reasons why. The first being, As a disabled woman, growing up that way as a child, I have always affected rooms when I walk into them. The energy changes when I walk into the room.
What kind of energy is that?
Well, they're just noticing, depending on what I'm wearing, you'll either notice my no hands, or if you can see, especially when I was a kid, I would wear like cute little sundresses so you could see my prosthetic legs. So you could definitely like see I was disabled. And people would, the room would shift, the energy in the room. That was definitely my first experience of understanding energy in a room. But also people would treat me differently. Like people have sort of yelled at me, thinking I might be maybe mentally disabled or deaf. Or, yes, it's been, I that experience, you learn pretty quickly to either sink into the background, or you really become charismatic and embrace it and really louder than life. There was definitely a tipping point where I went too far, because I'm like, you will look here instead of here. So that's why I was sort of this open book, because I really led with like my personality. But then in later years, in dealing with some trauma and secrecy of that trauma, I found that the way to get rid of shame is sort of sharing with not everyone, but with the people that need to know, to share your truth, and to sort of be a bit more open and vulnerable. And that really took some heaviness off my heart. And then really, as a result of doing the work I'm doing in the world, I saw that by being an open book, it almost gives permission for other people to do the same. Just like that's the whole reason why my podcast is called Being Vanessa. I really believe that just by being yourself, it gives permission to others, and that's the more powerful message. So I think they're the three reasons why I'm an open book.
And how do you be yourself?
How do I be myself? Look, I'm too weird at this point to like...
to not be.
It's a real thing. People cotton on pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm Aquarian, so like I'm a weirdo in general.
No.
We're just like these like...
You're a vibe.
But like it's so funny because like people start to hear me say that and they're like, oh no. But I'm like, this is not a negative thing I'm trying to say. Like I actually am trying to redefine the word weirdo as like a positive connotation.
Yeah.
Because like, again, this is the thing, like you can determine the meanings of things, you actually like get to, like some people, like the word, let me say the word wog, right? My grandfather has a very different experience of it than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's definitely like, I feel another word like disabled, some people think it's a dirty word. I don't. So weird is a positive thing. I forget what you asked.
Well, being you.
Oh yeah, being me. Well, see how I just like was openly like, oh, I forget where I was.
Yeah.
Right? Like naturally, just like being like, it's not about trying to fake it. It's just like, oh, I'm lost, or just being honest. I feel the more closer you get to what internal feeling you have with how you're actually out in the world is what being yourself is. Obviously we're all going to have different levels of openness, because I don't think you should just be a completely open book and just like let everyone know everything. There's layers to that, but to live in alignment with like what's going on in here to what you project out there, you're doing all right, I think would be the thing I would use to check in with yourself. Yeah.
How do you usually check in with yourself?
Stillness is, my body forces me to check in with myself. Living with my chronic pain and the level that I do, I really don't get a choice in the matter, but it's been my greatest teacher because it's really taught me to slow down, and that there is so much more power in the quiet than there is in any words that you can say.
And what are those things that you do to help you slow down?
I meditate.
Yeah.
I listen to music. Music is the love of my life and the thing that like completely saves me over and over and over and over and over again. It is also the thing that brings me the most purest joy and bliss. Other things like journaling. I'm a very creative person, so I'd suggest playing to your strengths would be the thing that I would say to check in with yourself, you know? There's no point trying something that feels strenuous, you know? It's about feeling in flow with yourself. That's how you really are in the know.
And
know?
what would you say to people who don't know their strengths? Like, how do you find and identify those strengths to play with those strengths?
For me, it's always been about being brave enough to try something. How do you know you don't like something if you haven't tried it? It's like when people say, I don't like olives. And it's like, have you tried an olive?
I don't like olives.
Have you tried an olive?
I have.
There you go. Okay.
That's how I know.
You know, so, you know, and I think then, but having said that, when you know that you don't like something, then like go with that. Don't let other people be like, oh, you should try it. Like you've tried the olive. You can say, no, I've tried the olive and I'm not trying it again. Like I'm good. I'm, you know, I'm pretty solid on that choice. I think it's, your no is just as important as your yes in terms of like what you do and don't like, and then what you are and aren't strong at, you know? And that's building inner confidence, inner strength, and like really being having integrity with yourself, you know? And that I think when say you're going to do something, then do it. If you don't want to do something, then don't do it. But it's a trial and error process, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I say your 20s are like for fucking up, you know?
Yeah. And how old are you now?
I'm 34.
Yeah, so what are those key learnings from your 20s?
They are, I really, like I was saying earlier about the whole like money thing, I didn't understand numbers. I actually stopped doing maths very early on at high school. I was just like, I'm an artist, I don't need that. Oh, well, baby cakes, you did, because like numbers is the actual whole world. So I would really, like just looking back at my 20s, the struggle with numbers and finances and figuring all of that out, like I really learnt the importance of that. And it's only now in my 30s that I'm really figuring that out. So that would be the biggest eye-opening experience of my 20s in terms of like what I thought I knew, but I didn't. And then to embrace it all, I think that I really had a decade of struggle, a decade of unfucking, I don't know if I can swear.
No, you're fine.
A decade of unfucking and undoing everything that happened as a child. I really had to do some puzzle piece putting together.
Yeah.
Because a number was done on me in my childhood, and so I had to really put things back together again, then undo it, put it back together again, understand it. It was a whole mess. I got sober in my 20s as well.
Yeah.
So I learnt that it's okay and that failure is actually something that is inevitable, but that like prior to anything that was happening in my 20s, I've always been getting back up. You know, I've fallen a lot. You do just naturally as a disabled person, you know, you're going to not know how to do something, and picking yourself up becomes part of your job. And then the same work was mirrored when it became working on all the mental stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that was my biggest lesson, and to like give myself compassion.
And do you think like your mental health was impacted during those years as well?
My mental health, it was not good. I've lived with suicidal ideations ever since I was really, really little. And so I definitely know dark days and struggle to be on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely, it was, my 20s were colored with that for sure. Yeah.
And how is your mental health now?
I'm in a really, really happy and good place because one of the things that I did a lot of is like dissociate. And I had a lot of bad coping mechanisms. I didn't understand what coping mechanisms were. And then when I started to really like get language around all of that, I was able to like work on the ones I didn't want to keep and like really sort of focus on the ones I did want to keep and like create better coping mechanisms. And so now, as I'm not as dissociated and I'm much more integrated, I am full spectrum of emotion. I'm definitely someone that really feels her emotions. I feel things intensely. I feel others' things intensely as well. And so that's been the most beautiful part of this whole mental health journey,
Yeah.
is that because of, I'll say this, I think the kindest hearts in the world are the ones that have been the most brutalized. And it's my awareness of how bad things can be that makes me softer, kinder, and has more time for someone, and is wanting to create space that feels safe for the world and for people in it. Yeah, so
That's beautiful.
thanks.
Just like you.
Thanks.
I'll get you to look up that way. So, how did you become to be so comfortable talking about all this? Like, you know, being so vulnerable and honest.
Yeah. People are very sticky bitchy. And I don't know why this is. I don't know if it's my natural aura or if it is the disability thing, but people do one of two things when meeting me. They'll dump on me and tell me like their biggest secrets, but also they'll ask me the most crazy questions, like stuff that, you know, is like, hey, you're a stranger, and like, you know, because they're just so curious. And I'm very much like, I don't ever get angry at that, you know, and so I'm just like, I'm a curious person too. Like, I stare at people that are disabled as well. I'm not the exception here, and I have a disability. So where was I going with this? What did you... Sorry, my pain is spiking.
Being so, no, don't worry.
Open,
Yeah,
open,
open
yeah.
and vulnerable,
Yeah,
like the way that you
the
are.
way that I are.
The
Yeah,
way
but
that
you
I am.
asked me, there was a reason why I brought that up. If only we could rewind. What did you ask exactly though?
It was like, how
Got
did you
lost.
be so, how are you so comfortable with being
Oh,
so
right,
open?
comfortable. Yeah, so like that's in a way forced, because like you're gonna have to have some like bravado or gusto or something to be like, in that moment, like you're either gonna be like, don't ask me that, or you're gonna be like, you know, I'm okay with you. And again, it ties in with safe spaces. You know, I want to be a safe place where people can like ask me a question, obviously be respectful, and there's going to be a level of like, hey, that's crossing a boundary,
Yeah.
and only you can set that
That's
boundary.
true, that's
not
true.
a thing that you have to be brave enough to go, no, I'm sorry, that question makes me uncomfortable, and to not justify why it's made you uncomfortable. No is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
So I've learnt to sort of be a bit more, you know, like understanding of where my boundaries are, and so from there, you know, answering a question and being an open book, you're answering something that feels okay to answer. You know, that's what's my guiding ship.
You just seem so like in your zone, you know, like you're
Yeah.
so in your presence. Like I feel as though you know who you are and you're
Yeah.
just going with it.
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe I
But
get.
that's what I want for everyone, right? Like
Yeah.
people, I understand there's a level of magnetism
Yeah.
to what I do. Everyone can do it. It's like totally the thing that I wish more people knew. Like it's not necessarily like, for me, I believe I'm a hippie. So I'm all about like feminine energy, and I believe femininity draws things in, and we're magnetic and we receive. Yeah.
The energy that we put out.
Exactly. And so for me, it's not just like, I believe that I'm going to have an amazing, successful business. I already do currently. In the level that it is now, it is just as important where it is now to where it will be one day. But I don't believe in like full boss babe mentality. I believe in working really hard, being exactly who I am, shining really motherfucking brightly,
Yes.
and knowing that it's coming. You know?
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's like you know how people say about manifesting, it's like you're asking the universe for something, and you just got to be patient, even though, and like know that it's coming.
Feel
and,
it. It's a feeling thing.
Yeah, and there was a really cool like analogy of that I heard once, where it was like, it's like when you go to a restaurant, you get like, you order your food with the waiter, and that's technically the universe, you ordering it, and then they go away, and you know it's going to come.
The word is you expect what you ordered to come.
Yeah, and you can just sit back, let, you know, have a couple of drinks, wander a little bit, whatever, and then you know that it's going to come.
Oh my God, I love that. Are you into like manifestation and all that stuff?
Yeah. During my YouTube days, it was either makeup or that sort of stuff.
Do you know who Abraham Hicks is?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'll fuck with you. Yeah.
You should have fucked with me at the very start of this,
buddy.
but all right.
Yeah, but no, I do, but just like, I'm impressed. That's not, it's more common now, but like back in the day, like it's impressive that you knew who that person was. Like, you know, fuck yeah.
Yeah, it was during my trauma days.
Yeah.
So of course, I think like when people do go through their trauma, they end up, you know, finding other sources of information, because and you look for it online, because no one's really like talked about it back then as well.
Yeah, totally.
It wasn't as common for people to be talking about their traumas and stuff like that. So I did have to find another outlet, and I think my spiritual journey definitely stemmed during my high school years through then.
Do you feel that like as you were more aware of that, your gravitational pull to things became different?
Yeah, like what I wanted out of life, and like my values, and you know, it's sort of like rechecking in with myself and who I am as a person and who I want to be, and just using that to guide me. So that guides me through the hard times. Like I know it's going to go, and I know it's necessary as well to go through the hard stuff, because you wouldn't be able to appreciate the good times, and it's always going to happen, but it's just the part of this whole journey. We're riding the waves, and there will be high and low. Yeah, exactly.
We are the ocean.
Yeah, we are everything.
We are. There's a whole universe inside of us, eh?
Just finishing off the lips. I love that little spiel that we just had.
Well, like attracts like, hey.
Yeah, agreed. Interesting, because like I only asked you to come on here like last week, and it was almost like divine timing stepping in.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, the order in the restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you put the order out.
Yeah, I know it's going to happen.
You're going to expect it. Did you order calamari?
Negative.
You don't like calamari?
No, I like calamari, but I ordered you. I ordered someone who's just fucking in their own individuality, creative, powerful, and I got it.
Yeah, buddy.
Just chopping up with a glass, and then I'll spray your face. Cute. So for anyone who's watching that might also have the same or similar disability to you, what would you say to them who, if they're struggling and they don't have the same confidence as you?
I would extend it to not specifically my disability. I think one of the misconceptions of disability is like that we're like this group and we're just not. Every individual person, every person with a disability, it's so unique and individual.
Yeah,
that's really
right.
like, it's like each human, because everyone has their own mental going on top of the disability, like, and then the way that it affects and plays into it. And it's such a complicated, it's complex having disability. So I would say that to anyone that feels like a misfit or a disabled or misunderstood, anyone that maybe feels like no one else exists like them, you know, because for me, it's not so much about being part of disability, but like I'm 1 in 18 million. Surely at some point everyone feels that in their own internal ways. And wherever that turns up in your life there. And at the end of the day, we're all human.
Yeah.
We all bleed the same color. That's what keeps us together. That's the common thread. And you're going to have hard days. It's unavoidable. You can control the controllable, do all of that. Beautiful, wonderful. Life is still going to test you at the end of the day. What are you going to do with that test? And that's where the real work begins, in the hard days.
Love it. Thank you so much. I'll spray your phones.
It's like, oh, that smells good. So much more elegant than hairspray, which is what I use.
I used to do that too. I learned it.
The Alnet one?
Yeah,
The,
I don't know.
Big gold bottle.
Not sure about that one. I think I
gold
just got a
bottle.
random one.
Yeah, no, it's like a...
Here you go.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
Do you like it?
Yes. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh, I'm into this.
Yeah?
This is a vibe. Sorry.
Yeah? No. We want you. We want you to do that. All right. Of course. Yes. Sorry if it muffled the mic.
Oh, it's so nice. Thank you for having
Of
me. I feel so special.
No. This is what you said about the whole makeup
see what
look.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, oh, it's just like, it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, just having the finished look. And
Yeah.
everything. Well, I loved having our conversation. It felt so real and just, you've been great on the show and I really, really like getting to know you.
Thank you for having
Of course.
me.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And if you're interested in anything that Vanessa does, I'll link all of her details below. See you guys next time.